What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA Tuesdays, featuring my co-host here, Zach Noble. If you don't follow Zach on X, or also known as Twitter, you can find him at Zach Noble. You can find myself at Scotty Drowned, and of course, you can find DSM Media on Twitter at DSM_media. That's who this show is brought to you by. In this segment of today's show, we're going to get into the USA FIBA basketball team that's taking some action right now around the world. This last matchup came against Germany, and it was a close one in this one. This was a game where USA trailed for a lot of the game. You saw some of the flaws with the team and kind of the structure of the team as far as like rebounding strength at the center position. Kind of got exposed against Germany. But nonetheless, USA comes away with a 99-91 win. Before we get into that, let me just start the day by asking you, Zach, how are you doing today, my friend? And welcome back to Scotty Talks, my man.
Appreciate you asking. Doing well. As always happy to talk hoops, man. It's hot weather in Minnesota. Loving summer yet. Life is good.
Gotta love that. Gotta love that. What are you getting up to today? What degree?
We're getting like 94, probably
Oh
95.
wow.
That's hot for us. I mean,
Yeah,
anytime
that's
we
hot,
crack
hot.
90 in Minnesota is a big deal.
Absolutely, man. I'm trying to see where are we at today. So in Philly, only getting up into the 70s, man. Rough. Well, getting looks like 80 is the top here at 4 p.m. But yeah, not nearly as hot as you over there. So good luck today, my man. But yeah, always great to start the day with hoops. I love getting after it in the morning like this. But yeah, let's dig into it, man. You got the USA team defeating the Germany team 99-91. In this game, just a few notes. The USA team was down 8 after the first half, and then ended up going down all the way up to 16-point deficit in that third quarter against the Germany national team. Obviously, your boy from Minnesota, the T Wolves, Ant Edwards, took this game over, man. Obviously, with the 34 points, 11 for 20 from the field, 4 for 8 from the 3-point line. 8 for 8 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, covered the entire box sheet, was doing everything for this team, was monumental in the defensive side of the ball down the stretch. So he was obviously the player of this game. But what were some of your takeaways just from what you saw of this game and what you've seen so far from the USA team?
Yeah, like we said from the beginning, he was our pick to be the guy, and I mean that was pretty unanimous across the board. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just nice to see how natural he looks as the guy.
yeah,
And I said it even from day one, the first game, that he was one of the few guys that looked like he just belonged and he could fit right in and not be forcing things, and still go get his. But it's just all looking incredibly natural for me. Where other guys, I mean, that's why they were lacking. I mean, a lot of guys are still lost out there. The team
yeah,
as a whole is lost, but Ant's still picking his spots on a very high level, and that's that's what makes me incredibly happy going forward as a
yeah,
Timberwolves fan, is just him not forcing shots, because that was always the big knock on him year one, and it just gets better with time. And these two guards, these high volume scorers, that's, I mean, that's their biggest flaw in general
yeah,
usually coming into the league, is they don't know when to take the shots, they don't know how to fit into an offense.
yeah,
um, and they try to do way too much. Ant's been on a hell of a progression. I mean, I'm not slowing this train down in any day, but it's like it's just natural. It's you can tell it's one step after the other, and he's not moving on to the next part till he's ready. And right now, I'm seeing more post game. I love it on the baseline.
yeah,
You're seeing a lot of that MJ, Kobe repertoire. I get
yeah,
get
yeah.
the KG and the Minnesota vibes always, but KG had an incredible baseline game too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Definitely, and I saw KG giving Ant praise the other day.
That
So
was beautiful, passing the
he's
torch in a
yeah,
sense.
he's all jacked up, but
Absolutely,
I need KG in the arena to give him the real
absolutely,
praise.
absolutely, man. Yeah, no, to your point, man, Ant, he showed some things, and I think you hit the nail on the head there. He showed patience down the stretch to go and find not just a good shot for him, but the best shot on each and every possession. And you mentioned that post play on the baseline, man. That was there's one shot I'm thinking of it that was just absolutely beautiful. It looked exactly like a MJ, you mentioned MJ, Kobe, KD. I mean, you could throw all these guys that work that post and are able to hit that turnaround fadeaway jumper. And the touch he showed on that jumper, specifically the one I'm talking about, it
Hmm.
just shows you where his game is at. He looks like such a mature player out there, and I think that's the biggest thing for his growth going forward is just maturity because he has all the skill sets. Right, he can shoot the ball, he ridiculously athletic, ridiculously strong. Yeah, that's the thing he brings to this USA team. When you look across the line, man, they're just not very bulky. Like they're not very big, and he comes in like a grown man. He is probably one
Right.
of the best built guys on this team, one of the strongest guys. Him, Paulo, you could throw Jaren Jackson Jr. in that conversation as far as just stocky guys. Jalen Brunson's a stockier point guard as well, but they lack size, and I feel like Ant gives them that on the defensive end. He can guard like the bigger wings, the bigger guards, but then also has the power, man. I mean,
Yeah, that
I saw
first
some of
quarter
those
dunk.
two
That
handed flushes. Yeah, and the first one, the first quarter flush over somebody's head. I can't remember who he actually dunked on, but yeah, that stuff is beautiful, man. And
number 9, whoever that is.
yeah,
But
exactly. We'll have to look that up. But nonetheless, man, my question to you, just before we move off of Van Edwards and get to the rest of this team and the rest of this game, how good is this kid? How good can this kid be? And obviously, you get to watch this guy very often as a Timberwolves fan and watching them regularly. How good can this guy be, not only in FIBA and international play, but in the NBA? Like, it feels like he is destined to become a top 5 player in this league.
yeah, so that's I mean, I'm always about these conversations just because I love projections and the player development's my favorite part of
Yeah,
the whole NBA. Why I'm so enamored with it, just watching the progress of all players. But and coming in, first of all, the stockiness, the man body you mentioned is why I had him number one in the draft over Lamelo Ball, and just the pure athleticism. I mean, I
yeah,
always give players an upper edge for that. Paulo was one of those guys as well. I mean, he was
yeah,
built for the NBA, ready for it.
yeah,
But with Ant, I mean, it was there were some questions. I mean, it wasn't in regards to like if he was going to put in the work for me, like mentality wise. Was he going to be a grinder once he got to the game, and was he
yeah,
going to be a leader? Those type of things. But yeah, I've never been worried about the off-season work. So year one came. I was very happy with year one. Just still worried about the defense, really. That was the only
yeah,
question mark. Year two came. I'm like, this guy is going to be great on defense too, even though he wasn't great on defense, but he just showed the effort, showed um, the intangibles to do it. He showed the intelligence to do it. And he put in the time watching the game film. Game three, he was almost I'm not gonna say very good, but he was good. Positive defender, borderline. I don't know, like the step below All NBA, third or fourth team if they had him, type of thing.
yeah, yeah,
But one of the better two guard defenders, and there's not many of them that are two-way two guard defenders. They just don't really exist anymore, which is crazy.
it's crazy to
And
think about.
so
Yeah,
I'm full on board that Ant can become Jason Tatum type two-way player.
yeah,
And people think classify Devin Booker as a solid defender, and I think Ant's much better defensively already than
yeah,
Booker. But with that said, I mean, size matters in the NBA, and it
yeah,
keeps making more of a difference year after year. I mean, these unicorns guys aren't slowing down anytime soon. So that's what's at the top of the board. That's who you're chasing. And then you put in guys like Giannis who are built, the athleticism, they're versatile as well. I mean, that's what you're competing against. So
yeah,
the height factor is always going to limit him. Jason Tatum's got 3 inches on Anthony Edwards or whatever, but Ant
yeah,
grew to, yeah, I think, I mean, he's either 6'5.5" or 6'6", and
yeah,
who knows, maybe he could grow another 2 inches. But with that said, I mean. I've said top 5 has been a ceiling since year 2, and I'm not ready to just fully cap that. I mean, there's a slight percentage that says he could get lucky for a year like James Harden did, and just go off and be arguably the best player in the league. That's
Yeah,
how I see it, the James Harden path type of thing.
yeah,
But um, yeah, it's very, very hard for me to say he's gonna could pass Giannis or Jokic.
yeah,
But like, yeah, he could absolutely pass Luca. I'm not like Jason
yeah,
Tatum because I think I like Anthony Edwards' mentality as not maybe I lean uh Doncic a little bit, but like defensively, that's where Ant I like he's all in defensively. He wants to
yeah,
be great defensively. So I
yeah,
lean Ant's mentality. If gun to my head, I'd have to pick between the two. But him or Tatum, like Tatum puts in the work. I
yeah,
know he does. And it's just he's been in the league long enough. I mean, and he still has way too many playoff blunders. Um,
yeah,
and he's a guy because of he's got a solid personality and he's not as boisterous and he's not in the part of his career he flies under the radar so much for his playoff blunders. But
yeah,
a lot of people put it into perspective because they just understand that's the playoff roller coaster in general, and he's still young, so the ascension's still happening. But uh, I don't know. Jason Tatum's got a lot of shit coming his way if he's not gonna just put it all together for a full playoffs. But um, with that said, that's the competition there.
yeah,
That's why I bring up all those guys. But um, Ant's trajectory is all the way there right now, and I think the only thing that's going to slow him down is height, honestly, to get to like
yeah,
the number one guy in the league. But um, yeah, I think it's either height or defense that usually slows players down from getting there.
yeah.
Um,
No, I
and
think
so
that's
the shortest guys to be in the conversation in the last 20 years are James Harden, Steph Curry.
yeah,
Um, and so James 6'5", Steph is 6'3", 6'4".
yeah,
Other than that, I can't think of anybody. Can you? I mean,
yeah. I mean,
Steve Nash, no way,
was
no way.
Dame ever a top 5 player?
No,
Like
Dame's never been top 7.
top 7, yeah. So
Yeah, number 7 might have been his highest.
trying to think through. I mean, nobody's coming to mind. Like best player in the league. Nobody's coming to
Right.
mind. I mean, somebody out there can correct us if
And
we're
your
wrong, but
situation matters. Your situation matters,
yeah,
and the Wolves situation, I think, is going to be good enough for him to get to top 5,
yeah.
regardless. I mean,
How soon do you see him getting into that category where it's arguable that Ant Edwards is top 5? Or do you think that he's already entering that status?
yeah. So right now, the range for him is like 15 to 23, somewhere
Yeah,
in there. And I would be shocked if he's not top 10 by next year.
yeah.
I truly believe that.
Feels like it's time. It feels like it's time for that major jump. That's what it feels like it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, jumping all the way to top 5 is a lot of stuff out of your control too. I
Yeah.
mean,
You need other
it
people to fall out of that top 5 in order for
well,
you to get there
you
as
need your
well.
teammates to be healthy. You
Yeah.
need your team to be great. Um, and y- is Ant a guy that makes his teammates that much better? No, he's not. I mean, that's a big factor, but
And that's where
you
Jokic
don't
comes into
have to
that
be
combo.
there. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I should say the 3 steps, I mean, that hold 3 things that hold people back is defense, um, height, and then making people better around them.
Yeah. No, I agree with that completely. And you pinpointed the what 3 or 4 guys that fit that. They cover all 3 of those bases. When you look at Jokic, Luca, Giannis, obviously on the defensive side as well, and then Jason Tatum. He could get a little bit better as a playmaker, but he still puts up pretty
Tatum
decent
doesn't make
numbers.
people better around him.
Yeah,
That's what holds him back
yeah,
too.
yeah,
But
exactly.
he's got everything else. Giannis, that's that's the big difference between him and Jokic. Jokic makes everybody so much better than
Yeah,
Giannis. Giannis does a little bit, but like it doesn't at the same
yeah. No,
time.
I know
He's
what you
just
mean
that
because
good. He's just that good.
Giannis compared to Embiid makes his teammates much better, right? Like,
Oh,
if you put him into the
Embiid's is
category.
one of the lower of the top 20 players in that
Absolutely.
category.
And I use Embiid as an example just because of that reasoning, right? Him being such a dominant player from a statistical standpoint, but he lacks on those other departments when it comes to making your teammates better. That's why we see Jokic get to where Jokic has gotten compared to him at the center position. But yeah, man, I loved what you pointed out about Ant Edwards versus Devin Booker, because Devin Booker, for example, he is a solid defender. He's a good defender. He does his job on defense. But I think when you look at Ant from the defensive perspective, he can do his job on defense, but he can also make a big defensive impact, right? You see it
Yeah.
in against Germany, for example. He's able to guard bigger guys. He's able to level up in that stance, but then also have the athleticism to be able to block shots, get in the passing lane. So I'm excited for you, man. I'm excited for you and
I
the
know it.
player that you got there, man. I obviously am a little. I've kind of grown to like root for the Timberwolves for you a little bit, man. I
Appreciate
don't
you.
know what that is, but
No,
yeah, man, I'm
I root
growing
for
fond
Philly
of some of these
teams because my
guys.
I root for Philly teams because of you a little bit and
I
others.
appreciate that. We
I
squared
like
off
my
in the
friends
Super
to be
Bowl. That was
happy.
miserable, but no, man. And Edwards, he's going to be
Unless
a
they're
stud
playing us, of
nonetheless,
course,
though.
then it's always FU.
I did want to bring up something else regarding this game. So I didn't just want to pinpoint Ant Edwards, but I did want to point out Tyrese Halliburton. This is something that we talked about kind of before they got into play. Maybe it was after the first game or something. I can't necessarily remember when we first dug into this team, but we looked at that lineup, saw Jalen Brunson. I mentioned to you, I think you can argue that Jalen Brunson is the more successful player right now as far as point guards in the NBA, and he may be the better player than Tyrese Halliburton at this point. But when you look at the structure of this team, who is the better fit when it comes to that? And I look specifically to Ant Edwards and I look at Tyrese Halliburton versus a Jalen Brunson, and I immediately just think Tyrese Halliburton fits much better next to Edwards, in my opinion. And that goes for the rest of the team, in my opinion, as well, because this is a team that needs somebody to set them up. And while Jalen Brunson is a good playmaker in a sense, Tyrese Halliburton is probably the best playmaker on this team. And I think that's why you saw in the second half of this game, you had Tyrese Halliburton scoring 17 of his 18 points in the second half. He kind of started that charge with Ant Edwards in the third quarter to get the USA back into this game and get things going for them. So when you look at it from that aspect, what I just broke down regarding Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brunson, maybe it's a matchup thing. Obviously, Dennis Schroeder had control of this game from the Germany side, so that was kind of a different mismatch there. But when you look at this team, is that just kind of a matchup type of thing where Halliburton was the better option in this game? Or do you think that he just is the better option for this team going forward long term? If this, obviously, we don't know after this FIBA World Play, but just in this tournament specifically, do you think that Tyrese Halliburton is the better option, or would you stick with Jalen Brunson in the starting unit?
I mean, I'd stick what's working, but I don't think anybody should be offended by getting demoted because it's all about who's hot. Because there's it's such a deep and good team. I mean, when you got players this good all around, I mean, and the coaches, I'm sure that's one of the first things they said in camp. We're going with the hot hand. You guys are all stars.
Yeah,
You guys all have the goods. It's whoever's playing the best right now and fitting in with the team. But like Jalen Brunson is one of those guys that's always so good. He'll always exceed the fit, and he'll make
it's fair.
he'll always make players around him better. But just because I mean he's not going to move as quickly without the ball. I mean his height matters compared to Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah,
But speed and quickness, just the way you can play off ball, and um, the isolation differences between Halliburton and Brunson as well. I mean,
yeah,
one comparison that kind of came to mind is like Steph Curry, CP3, and Harden, for instance. So it's like Steph is one of the best fitting players of all time. He fits
yeah.
with
Fit
everybody
anywhere.
anytime. There's very few players like that. But like James Harden, Chris Paul make players around him better with the ball in their hands, where Steph
See
Curry
what you
doesn't
mean.
necessarily as much. He makes them better without the ball in their hands. So that's why
Yeah.
Chris Paul and Harden, I mean, they always exceed the fit regardless of who they're playing with. That's why no matter you tell me who those two guys are with, I think they're always going to be on good teams and make players around them better. Yes, there's better fits for those guys, and there's never a bad fit for Steph Curry, never.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's better fits for Chris Paul and Harden.
No, yeah, I think that's actually a great point because I actually just love that reference that you used for Jalen Brunson. He always exceeds the fit because that's exactly what I've thought everywhere he goes, right? And we broke this down on the top 10 point guards episode because I told you he seems like a guy that is playing out of his talent level.
Yeah,
And you said that's the point. And that is a great point because it's not about where he is supposed to be or what his
right.
ceiling is supposed to. It's about what he is putting on the court. So I do feel that, and I think that speaks to the exceeding the fit because when you look at it on paper, yes, Halliburton is the guy, right? Like he's 6'5", he's the playmaker, he gets everybody involved. But there's specific moments that may come throughout this tournament where you don't need the playmaking. You need somebody that can go get you a bucket, or you need somebody that can be a great leader on the court or lead by example on the court. And I think Jalen Brunson, you're not going to find many guys in the NBA that lead the way he does with or without the ball, right? And
Hmm.
to playing off the ball, you saw it with Luka, how he excelled in Dallas, playing off the ball off of Luka. And then you go to New York, he's playing on the ball primarily with, running that pick and roll and doing different things there in New York, leading them to the playoffs. So he can do a lot of different things. And I got to stop. That's something in myself I got to stop doing. I got to stop discrediting Jalen Brunson a little bit. I just love Tyrese Halliburton's game. It's kind of a personal preference, but
It's called putting people in boxes for what you hope and you expect them to be, and then they turn out to be something different. And then you're like, God, that was my fault for just keeping them over here and not giving them a chance to be all these other
exactly,
things. So the
exactly.
key is
That is
stay
spot on.
open-minded and adapting to growth and whatnot, and just letting the facts play out, because too often we do that,
Yep.
especially in sports. It's like,
I agree. I
this guy
agree.
can only do this. This is only what he's supposed to be. No, this guy just did all of this.
This is what he can do, right? When you see it for your own eyes. And I think that's a great point to look at here. Last thing I wanted to touch, man, Austin Reeves, AR-15, getting into the game. 16 points in this one, 5 for 9 from the field, 2 for 2 from the three-point line. He was also part of that charge in the second half with Halliburton and Ant Edwards, Ant leading the way, obviously. But Austin Reeves, man, he gets the full-on crowd initiation every time he steps into the game. He gets like a standing ovation, and you just gotta love it. I don't know if it's like the Lakers thing. I don't know if it's because he's like a
White.
small
It's
town
the
guy
white
in the
thing. It's the
USA.
white thing. Let's be honest. It's a small white town. It's all of it, bro. It's the
I'm not. I
underrated.
didn't want to say that. I'm not allowed to say that, but you can
Nah,
say it, man. And I do have to agree with you there. He's relatable, right? For somebody that or players that you just don't see in the NBA. There's not a ton of white players to relate to that are playing at a really high level like he is. So,
he
yeah,
relates. He
it's
relates
just
to
funny, man.
everybody. It's not a race thing, because it's an underrated thing. It's being overlooked. It's all of that. I mean, it's just like
Very good point.
musicians that, I mean, their words are about one. You might think they're about one specific thing, but if you actually listen to them, they're about all these people, and they bring all these people together. And it doesn't matter what they look like; it's
Yeah,
what they sound like and the chills they give you, and the words that
exactly.
actually come out.
Exactly, because if I'm being transparent here, I was a victim of that when I first looked at Austin Reeves, and I have a boy, I have a really good friend Darius who is a big Lakers fan, and he's been telling me about Austin Reeves for probably 2 to 2.5, 3 years
He was
now.
on my draft board, motherfucker.
Right, so,
Like, I watched him in the Big 12. Like, this hillbilly Kobe, like the dude can game, like, and he's always been
Hillbilly
clutch.
Kobe.
Seriously.
That is a good nickname, man. Hillbilly Kobe, man, from the Pac to man, the Big 12. Oh man, Austin Reeves, he's an impressive player, and he's really getting the time to show out in the USA team. And I actually love that to kind of get out of like LeBron and AD's shadow. Not that he really was; he kind of blew up in the playoffs too. So it's not to say that he wasn't getting any shine, but it's coming full circle for him. So you got to commend him, and he's one of the most versatile players on this team, and maybe in the NBA. When you look at, I don't even want to call him a role player. He kind of fits into that type of role, but like he's more than that, right? And I think in a team outside of LeBron and AD, I think he could do more, and we're starting to see that with this USA team. So those were the three guys that I wanted to pinpoint out of this game: Hallie, Ant, and AR-15. Here, was there
You're
anything
a
else
role
that you
player
saw
till
with
you're
this game?
not. You're a role player till you're not.
There
And
it is. So
if you
maybe
go by
maybe I
that,
do gotta.
if you go by that, it's kind of like the superstar thing. It's like you could be a role playing star. I mean, the number two option on the team, you might be a star, but you could still be the role player next to the one option. It's just all depends semantics, how you
No
define
doubt.
shit. I
No
will
doubt. I
say
do like
this.
that. You're a role player until you're not, though. I do like that saying.
I will say this though. I mean, Jalen Brunson, Halliburton, Austin Reeves, like at times it's just you're lucky of the byproduct around you, like
Yeah.
if you're out there whenever like ants going off or somebody's rolling, Mikal Bridges is tearing it up, it's like they're going to keep you out there because the team's winning, everybody's rolling,
Yeah.
and you might not be doing shit, but like you're getting the benefit of the doubt and people are talking to you because you're on the court, and then you have one of the next 20 points or whatever. So um, kind of like me and pickup ball and just
Keep
byproduct
winning
there.
games, but it ain't
There,
because of me.
nah,
No, I'm sure you're all right, man. I'm sure you're all right. All right. Zach, can you hear me? I can't see you there. All right. Well, nonetheless, just check out the next episode
went off
after this.
last night.
We're gonna get into top 10 small forwards. Zach, you're still frozen on my screen there, so I'm sorry if I can't hear you or if you can't hear me there, brother. But we're gonna go ahead and end this segment of the show. Be sure to tune in after this. We're gonna have the top 10 small forwards in the NBA right now coming up shortly after this, guys. But thank you once again for tuning in to Scotty Talks NBA.